and now so many others are saying it. And, of course, we have Professor Black, one of the former top federal investigators. He's in Fall of the Republic, saying the same thing. I mean, it's really coming out that these guys are a bunch of crooks.
Well, what you were referring to was that they were selling CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, and they were bonds which contained mortgages and pieces of mortgages, and they browbeat the rating agencies, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch, into giving them AAA ratings when, in fact, their ratings were BBB, the difference between a 10 and a 3. And they knew that this toxic garbage was going to start falling apart. So the minute they sold them to the buyers, and, of course, they did have some still in inventory when all this happened, they sold them to the buyers, and then they shorted them. They bet that they were going to go down. And here they've just sold them on the long side to institutions throughout the world, particularly in Europe. And then they turned around and shorted the market at the same time. And that's what the writer is talking about.
Now let's explain this.
You have a bond, and you sell it to Alex Jones. Goldman Sachs does. Then they turn around, and they go into the market, and they sell the bond that you just bought, just like they want it to go down, because when you sell short, it has a tendency to make the bond or the stock to go lower. And if other people see that, they'll sell too. So if they sell the bond short at par, which is 1,000, it may go down to 95 or 90. And then somewhere along the way, they're going to buy their short position back, and they're going to make a profit on the downside by betting that your bond is going down, which it did.
I was about to say, so in layman's terms, Goldman Sachs, unlike any other group, has regulators internationally in the Treasury, in the private Federal Reserve, in the government, on record, running everything. They go out and package crap derivatives, knowing it's crud, knowing it's bad mortgages. They get it AAA rated as solid gold. They tell everybody it's great in press releases. They sell it to banks, institutions, individuals, to the investing world, to governments, to CalPERS in California, to your school district, to the COP union, pension funds, everything. They know it's a time bomb. They know it's a car that's going to blow up in an hour, but they sell it to you off the lot, knowing it's going to explode and kill everybody on board. Then to make sure it happens, it's already crap, they go out and bet against it to drive it down. Then it goes way down. Then they use government bailout money to come buy it back up, what has value, picking and choosing at literally dimes on the dollar at the bottom, and then they all post record profits and give each other record bonuses. I mean, that is diabolical. And the article goes on to say they didn't just do it for incredible profit. They did it to devastate other financial institutions because they are the regulators. As Goldman Sachs, they have their operatives everywhere. They can then come in and use regulators to shut down and force the sale or liquidation or takeover to other Federal Reserve grouped banks that they're allied with or themselves.
That was so brilliant that I think that you might get a letter or a call from Goldman Sachs asking you to go to work for them.
No, seriously.
That's perfect, Alex. And, I know that you're not someone who has been trained in that industry, and that was a wonderful explanation. Thank you.
Well, no, I'm just here every day reading it, looking at it. I mean, I just understand what these that's what Rothschild did in 1815, staging the collapse of the market so he could buy it up. I mean, it's the same trick, just more sophisticated.
That's right. And I'm glad writers are getting on this. I don't have time to write special item and do special investigation. I'm publishing so much now and 30 hours a week on the radio, but I'm glad they're there. I welcome them. I love them. And I hope they work harder and harder and harder, and I hope more of them come, and I hope more of them come on radio and in the Internet, because we need all the help we can get.
I'm just blown away by how bold Goldman Sachs is, and, of course, they're just one of the culprits.
Bob, they just don't care. They are a law unto themselves. They're crooks. in $3,000 suits. They don't care about the Constitution, the laws. The SEC protects them. And, did Shapiro work for the SEC? There's so many of their alumni, so to speak, in banking worldwide, as you pointed out, as well as in the brokerage business that have gone to Washington. It's ludicrous. Now, it's not new. There have been other firms, Dillon Reed and J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan used to be the anointed ones, and in current years, Goldman Sachs has come along and taken over the helm, so to speak, for the Treasury, J.P. Morgan Chase for the Fed. And one handles one area and one handles the other. But they run the country, and we've got to stop them.
So we have a gang of crooks.
Because they want world government, and that's what this is all about.
Exactly. Because then they're the world government, and they write the laws, they control the army, and they can legalize all their crimes. Right now is an important transition for them because they've been doing it under color of law. But if they're able to get their police state in place, heaven help us. Why is Goldman Sachs, every time we turn over a rock, why is it one of their alumni in a federal regulatory position? I mean, I don't see many regulatory positions where you don't have a Goldman Sachs ringwraith in there in the cockpit.
It's planned that way. Look at the seamless change between Bush and Obama. Team A replaced Team B. Where did they come from? All the bureaucrats. A Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberger Group, hardcore illuminists. They all want world government. We didn't have any change, and so it's all the same.
You know, it must be great if you're just totally ruthless and evil, and I mean that sarcastically, but it must just be great because they get to take over, kill, enslave, bankrupt whoever they want, and then talk about how great they are building this great new world order when they're just a bunch of criminals.
Not only that, most of them are pedophiles.
Man, these people...
That's even more sickening.
Do you think that they've gone too far, though, Bob?
Well, they have, but we have to play it out. And they're going to have to make their moves, and we're going to have to make ours. They think they got the army in their pocket, and they're sadly mistaken. They're not going to follow them. I haven't asked you yet what you think of the shooting at Fort Hood. Too early to tell, Alex.
Yeah, I agree with you, but the truth will come out later. But by then, nobody will be paying attention. Your call straight ahead. 2 more segments with Bob Chapman. Stay with us.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Let's go to Nick in New Jersey. Nick, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Al. This is my first time calling.
Welcome.
I heard Mr. Chapman speak, and it makes me sad to know that the Justice Department, the CIA, and FBI, just who's running those damn companies, you know? And I was in that march when we went down to Washington, D.C., and all of these buildings were on the same street, and if I had a paper and pencil, I would have put signs up, for sale, for rent, out of business, bank sale. You know what I mean? Those buildings are right out there, right on the corner.
Well, that's what tyranny is. Well, that's what tyranny is. It's when criminal interests come in, get control of your government, and start robbing you. And it happens everywhere else on the planet. It's happening here. We better grow up and admit it and tell these people, stop it, and start bringing them to justice, because they're not going to quit until we grow a backbone. Bob Chapman.
That's the way to do it, and that's why we're getting the word out, and that's why you're going to Washington and letting them know that you don't agree with what's going on. They had that march on Thursday. It appeared in none of the major media.
Except for them calling them racist. It had nothing to do with race. Right. They don't want government-run health care. You know, they can't run cash for clunkers. They can't run this, and that's being nice to them. Nick, good to hear from you.
How do they think they're going to get away with that? Because it's a non sequitur. It has nothing to do with what they were doing. I mean, stupid. I'm talking about the government and the media and saying those things.
It's amazing. Let's talk to Arnold in California. Arnold, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Alex. Thank you so much for having me on. First-time caller. I've been listening to you for a long time. And here's something that I quite don't understand. It seems like the CIA seems to be more connected in doing business outside of the U.S. to hoard all this money in the international trade. And I know that because I'm somewhat connected internationally, and this is what I always hear from the people. Before you can do anything, it seems like you have to give the CIA their cut first.
Bob?
First of all, I don't have firsthand knowledge. Historically, I do. And I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't extorting everybody. It is a criminal organization.
Well, the thing is that I was in the military myself, and I know that every branch of the military has their own intelligence.